Hey everyone, and welcome to After Hours. In tonight's episode, we are going to be utilizing the Designs with Lines mini kit that we carry here at Linda's. And with this kit, it has two different stencils along with a book. And we're going to kind of apply all of those different techniques for that kit on our one block tonight. We're also going to switch it up just a little bit where I'm going to be focusing heavily on design, and then at the end you'll get to see kind of a sped up version of how it ended up being quilted out. But I really want to take you through how these stencils are used on this block, along with all the cool designs in the book that we're kind of applying to the block and then throwing our own little twist on them as well. Before we get started, always make sure that you subscribe to our channel. It's going to be right down at that bottom right hand corner. After you click on that subscribe button, make sure you click on the little bell that shows up so you can get notified whenever we post new videos, go live here at After Hours, or do anything new LEQ. So let's hop overhead and take a look at what we're going to do. So this is the block that we're going to be working on tonight. Kind of has that basket look on this one, and this is the Designs with Lines mini kit that we carry. So it comes with the book that's going to have a bunch of different designs in there for you, and we're going to work on a few of those tonight. It's also going to come with the Basic 8 stencil, number 1959. If you've been following us for a while, you know a Basic 8 is a pretty well staple when you do a bunch of different blocks. And then it's also going to come with the 1-inch stencil number 2291 on this one. And this has those 1-inch increments that, of course, you have the inch between the lines, but if you go every other line, then you have 2, 3, 4, so on. Or if you pounce it down and then shift it halfway, then you'll have 1/2-inch line increments, which we're going to do a little bit of tonight. So first thing is I want to show you the pouncing process for using these on this block. So we're going to work on our border first, and with that border we're going to be using the 1-inch stencil. So let's grab that one again, number 2291 in that kit. When you use these stencils, make sure the label is facing down. And this border around this block has different pieces that we're going to work with. The biggest thing is we have these cornerstones that are the same type of fabric color as the border, but it'd be nice to separate those cornerstones off just a little bit to give the block a little bit more flair and a little bit more attention. So we're going to use, I'll give you a visual. Let's say we have our ultimate marking pencil right here. So that's kind of one of our cornerstones right there. I know it's faint, hard to see, but that's that cornerstone. This one already has a seam, so we're good there. This one we need to put something on, so I'll just draw right there on that one. So that's our cornerstone, and then this one has a seam line, so we're good there. So I'm going to take my 1-inch line stencil, and I'm going to line it up with that kind of imaginary seam line that we just drew in, and try to also line it up with the seam line down here. So it might not be perfect. I might have to kind of shift it around. Right about there is good. It's a little bit on the outside of this seam and on this seam, which is fine, but at least it gives me these increments to kind of break them up. So with that stencil on, label side down, I'm going to grab my Pounce powder. I'm using the white one. We've got it in 4 different colors, I think. And I'm going to hold this stencil in place and brush this down. Now, granted, you would be doing this on your actual machine. This would already be loaded on the machine, or if you're doing it on your sit down, it would already be basted to fabric. But I really wanted to focus a lot on designing tonight and showing you how these tools are really used so the machine's not in the way so you can see it. So then you would pick up your stencil and you would have those lines on there. Now, like I talked about earlier, if you wanted to shift the stencil halfway like that, you could then pounce again and you would have 1/2-inch line increments on this one. So then we're going to turn it this direction and we'll do this one. Give your powder a hit, set it there, brush, just like that. These are already broken up on this section, so we're pretty well good there. If we want to place them, we can. It might actually help us to place them. Let's do it. Why not, since we're here? We would place all of these. So give it a hit, brush, give it a hit, pick up and turn to here. That's good. Give it a hit, and then brush. So this would be our lines for our outer border on this section. Now with this on the machine, I would go ahead and grab my mister bottle and mist some water or some best press over this to keep this steady, because once you start quilting, that powder begins to jump around. But if you put some type of moisture on it, like water or best press, it'll keep it down long enough to get the quilting going, and then you can either brush it or iron it off depending on the color of powder that you're using. So we're going to open up our book that comes with our mini kit, and we're going to be doing E's and L's tonight. So it shows you with those lines that the L is kind of going in the middle of that dotted line, and then the E is in the middle of the two lines. Also gives you a little mock-up of how to draw it. So I'm going to take my little plastic sheet so we can draw it together, lay that over. And then again, remember, we kind of broke up our cornerstones right here and right here. And then here, 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 here. Because we're going to do something else in those cornerstones, because the E's and the L's would then run into each other. So we'll do that. So depending on how you want to go about this, we'll start down here. We'll do a start right there. Okay, so we have the E between the two dotted lines, and then the L goes over the dotted line. So starting here, we're going to give it a little bit of an E, so a tiny little loop, and then an L. E, L, E, L. And then you get into kind of a movement of this, and then we have one little E here. And then we're going to place another E instead of doing an L right here, because it's going to go into the actual block. We're just going to do another little E right here. L, and then we have one last E right there in that section. Now we're coming into the cornerstone, so this one I want to throw in just kind of a flare piece. I don't even know what to actually call it. In the comments, give it a name. We'll travel down the ditch to this point, and then we're going to come out with a flare. Like that. Travel up the ditch, and then you're back over where you were here. So we've got, to keep consistency, we have an E, an L, an E. This marker likes to make noise. And then we're going right back into E's. So E, L, E, L. And once you get the motion going, you'll kind of build your own rhythm on that to do however you would like. And then we come in with a final E right here. Again, go in with your flare, so travel down the ditch, and then flare, flare, 5 little flares, and then travel in the ditch, and then go back with your same design. So E, L, E, and then go right back into E's. So E. Now this one, here's actually a good point. I totally sped right by that because I was just looking around playing with it. Let's actually erase those. Much easier to erase this than take out stitch ink out of the quilt. So for this one, I'm actually going to start in with an L because it's a little bit larger, and I'm going to fill that whole section and then a baby E. Fill the whole section between the two. We're kind of going against the way we did all these others. Just because this is a small section up here, we just want to be able to fill it in quickly. So we're going to come in with an L first. So L, and then a little baby E. L, baby E, L, baby E, L, and baby E. Travel down the ditch again, and then give it your flare. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Travel down the ditch, and then we're going to give this one an E, L, E, L, E, L, E, L. And then last but not least, for your leather flare. So then you're going to flare it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even though we're stopping here at our last stitch and we're done, go ahead and finish this off to your starting point for consistency on the back of the block. Travel down that ditch, and then you're there. So your start and stops are right there in that one spot, and then you've done your border for this block. Now, if you have a bunch of these blocks, you could do the same thing. If they're all kind of connecting with each other, then it would have kind of a flare each other way. But I think this is a really cool idea to do around this. And it just adds a little bit of quilting, not a lot, especially if you're using the same thread color as the background fabric. It'll kind of just disappear and lock down the block, which is really, really cute. So that's that one. After it's quilted completely, you can either iron it or brush it away. So I'm going to use my Aunt Pam's quilt sponge, and then this just brushes right off. I'll have to do this again once it's on the long arm, but it's okay. I just wanted to show you how easy it was to take that off. So think of that now that our border is done, and now we get to work on the inner portion of our basket. So I'm going to use my line stencil again, and I'm going to work on the basket first, just because that's where my mind goes. And I'm going to line up one of these straight lines in the perforated stencil with the seam, either this way on the basket or this way, completely, however you want to look at it. Just make sure your stencil fully encompasses the basket. So we don't want to line up that one because we're missing some here on the side. Just make sure it fully fills up the basket. So we've got that lined up. We'll take our powder, give it a hit, brush it over, just like that. And then we're going to turn it and then line up our stencil with this edge down here. So get that one lined up, give it a hit on your pounce powder brush, just like that. You kind of give it a grid effect on this one. Now, once again, once you pounce down the powder, give it a little bit of hit of water and water over that. And then you can start the quilting process. So we're going to go ahead and draw it out. Line this back up as best as I can. That works. And then let's do a different color. Let's do red. So for this one, I kind of took a page out of the back of the book. It kind of gives you this little sampler that you can make to go along with it. And there's a little bit of a curly wavy line right here. So I wanted to give this basket, kind of a basket weave, wavy crosshatch look. So I'm going to start wherever I kind of really want to. We'll start right here. That's our starting point, so we'll start there. And I'm just going to do waves, travel up the ditch, wave back, travel, wave. And we're going to wave it all the way back and forth as we go. Now with this one, I don't want to cut this way and then wave up because it's going to then cut off the bottom of the basket. So we're going to travel down this ditch, over to this line, and then wave up. Now this is the great time to use a ruler in this one, which you'll see me do. I'll be using a ruler on it as I go. All right, so I'm going to travel up the ditch this way, and then once I get to this point, I don't necessarily really want to travel all the way down that ditch just to do this line, so we'll catch up with that when we do another wavy line this direction. So I'm going to come down just to that first dotted line and then wave the opposite direction. Down, wave, down, wave, down, and wave. As we go. Now this one we don't want to cut over because we're going to cut into the bottom of the basket. So we're going to cut down. Let's see, it's actually, since we're right here, we still need to do a line this way and we need to do a line this way. So back that up. Let's back that up. The joy of doing this before you actually quilt it. We've waved to here. We're going to wave this way, travel up, wave that way, travel over, over, and then wave back this way. Just like that. Now we have one little missing guy right here that we need to fill in. So if you wanted to, you could travel your ditch and go all the way over and finish that off. I probably would because I think it'd be faster than redrawing all of this. So we're going to travel across our start point, down this, and then wave, and then that's where we would stop right there. So that's going to be our little wavy basket fill for this one. Now I know the red on the green might not show up as well, so let me get you a white piece of batting so you can get the idea of what it actually looks like. Let me lay this underneath here. Ooh, come on, there we go. So that's going to give you the idea of what it's actually going to end up looking like. So give it kind of a wavy feel. But it's going to lay down really nicely in there and just give it an extra cute look on that one. So we have that one done in this piece. And then last but not least, we're going to work on this upper outer section. So I will grab, let's go back to black. I think that's easier to see. So that's what we're going to use. And then for this one, we're not going to use any stencil unless you wanted to find the true kind of center of your triangles. You could use your basic 8, line that up, and then it would take, you're doing this in every of the beige triangles, but you could line up the bottom line and the top line and then travel up until you kind of see your perforated edges. That one's hitting that kind of angle of that seam. This one's hitting that seam, and then you have one full one in each. So that would give us more or less the center of that, and you could mark that to go around it, because we're going to do little flowers in every single one of these, but I think it might be just more fun and a little bit more random just to kind of put them wherever we want. But if you did want to mark them, using the basic 8 to find the center is going to be your easiest way to do that. So I'm going to brush off this powder, again with my Aunt Pam's quilt sponge. Get that back in alignment, and then we'll place this back over. Get it lined up like that. That's better. There we go. Okay. So for this one, we're going to start right here. So this will be a start. We're going to come up and kind of create a circle, and then we're going to do little petals off of that circle. There. Now we need to get out, so just travel up that circle and out a petal, and then to your point. When you get to your point of your red, these are going to be continuous curve. So we're going to go curve, 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 travel up. You can create a circle this way if you want. Give your little flower, come out, down, curve, same thing, up, flower, out, and curve. And I do my flowers different every single time. I don't know the exact rhyme or reason why I do it, I just do it that way. So to keep this moving consistently, we're going to do curves in the green as well. So we're going to travel up this direction, over and down. Now that kind of locks us right here because we need to get up to keep moving. So what I'm going to do is then travel back up that other curve that gets me to that point right here to keep moving along. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this other green one since we're here. So we'll curve, 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 and that puts us right in again to doing the flower. So we'll do flower, continuous, flower, continuous, flower, and continuous. Now we have to do this green one right here. Now you could have started with that green, but I thought it would be more fun to start with the flower. So you just have to fill in that green triangle there with that continuous curve. We'll also do this one, curve back till we can get to this point. We'll go ahead and do this triangle since we're here, just like that, and then we start with our flower. Curve, flower, curve, whoa, 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 there it is, there we go. And then here, travel back up that curve, finalize this one. We have one flower, flower, and then curve. There we go. Just like that. So we have that section. We started here and then we ended right There. So that was our start and that was our stop. And that's going to be the design process for this block. I think it turned out really cute. I like the flowers and the open spot just gives a little bit of character, and then the rest is kind of curvy, movie, and just love the way that it laid down. So now I'm going to take you over to the machine and I'm going to kind of speed quilt it. We're going to speed it up with the quilting process, but I thought it was really important that you actually got to see the full draw out and the full design process, as opposed to the machine kind of being in the way while we were doing it. So I hope you enjoy the quilting, and I'll see you back here once I'm done. Alrighty. Well, thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of the benefits of the Designs with Lines mini kit on this one. Now, I know we focused heavily on the straight line stencil tonight. However, having that basic 8 in your arsenal is a game changer, and the amount of designs that the book comes with for the basic 8 is really, really cool. All the tools that I use today are available on our website, www.longarmsupplies.net. I'll also have it linked in the description below, and I'll see you next time here on After Hours. Bye!